Hello, everybody. I want to give you guys a little bit of an update because we are 24 hours from the NFL draft. And honestly, I want to film my raw reactions to the picks. So you're going to see a bunch of YouTube shorts of me reacting to our first round selections. You're probably going to see me react to day two selections as well. But unfortunately for day three, there aren't going to be really any shorts of my reactions because I'm going to be at work, unfortunately. The third day of the draft is, during the afternoon, unfortunately, because, they have to speed up the rounds, I guess, when it's midday. So just giving you a little bit of an update on how things are going to go tomorrow. There's not going to be a video in terms, but there are going to be like little shorts. And then when the draft's over, I'm going to be doing a draft review on the Jets draft. But to continue on, I want to talk about um, just a quick tidbit on you know Geno Smith and what I think his ceiling is and what I think his floor is. I mean that's like you should just answer the question right there how I think his floor is going to be. But when it comes to Geno Smith, when you talk to a Jet fan, they don't have a lot of positive things to say when it comes to Geno Smith due to just the history. The history is pretty bad. To say that Geno Smith and the Jets and Jet fans have a complicated history, I mean, it's an understatement. I mean, Geno Smith, let's go back to 2013. He falls into the draft. He was supposed to be a first round pick. He falls into round two. The Jets pick him up. Um, he was supposed to be the quarterback two to sit behind Mark Sanchez for a year, because Mark Sanchez's um, contract was running low at the end of that season. So they were going to replace Mark Sanchez anyways. But Mark Sanchez gets hurt in the preseason for the weirdest reason ever, with Rex Ryan throwing Mark Sanchez into the Wolves against third stringers, the Giants' third stringers, and the Jets' offensive line third string. Um, and Mark Sanchez was never heard from again, from the Jets' perspective, and he gets traded to the Eagles. But Geno comes in, leads the Jets to a mediocre 8-8 season in 2013. Um, he led the league in interceptions, but there was some hope going into 2014. Okay, let's see what Geno Smith can do in 2014 if he can take that next logical step. I mean, rookie quarterbacks, they always don't have really great rookie seasons until, they always have a high turnover rate in their rookie season. I mean, look at Peyton Manning. People would say. Then 2014 happened. Uh was much worse, much more of a disaster of a season. He got benched multiple times for Michael Vick. And to people who are wondering, yes, Michael Vick was a New York Jet at a certain point. He was with the New York Jets for 1 year. That's crazy to think about. Michael Vick was a New York Jet. So Geno Smith was benched for Michael Vick for a couple games. I think he was benched for Matt Sims for a game too, which is crazy. So yeah, that's what happened back then. And then 2015 happened. He gets punched in the jaw. Ryan Fitzpatrick takes over. Probably has the best quarterback season a Jets quarterback has ever had. And Geno Smith sort of it was sort of became kind of a background character for the Jets in going into 2016. So sort of like an afterthought. Because no one really focused on him, no one really cared. Dude, they thought everyone just assumed like, okay, the team's better off of Ryan Fitzpatrick, so the Jets re-signed Ryan Fitzpatrick for a 1-year deal. 2016 is a mess. They bring Geno back as a starting quarterback. They bench Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I remember it was against the Ravens. This was Geno Smith's final start as a New York Jet. Geno Smith gets hurt, ACL, done, and Ryan Fitzpatrick becomes the quarterback again for the rest of the 2016 season, which was a complete and utter mess. And Geno Smith was gone, and he left for the New York Giants. Then he goes to the Chargers, and then he ends up in Seattle, and that's where he has his career resurgence. And everyone's like, wait, Geno Smith can actually ball? Yes. That's what happened in 2023 and 2024. So he balled out, and then he gets traded to the Raiders, and he looked like old Geno Smith from 2014. Threw a lot of picks. Is probably one of the I don't want to say the main reason the Raiders had the number 1 overall pick, but certainly one of the reasons. He did not help the Raiders at all. He did not help the Raiders. But the Raiders didn't really have a lot of great players around him. I mean, they had Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer and Ashton Jeanty, but that's about it. They didn't really have a great offensive line. I think they had Jacoby Myers for like a couple of games, and then they traded him. So, yeah, no, they didn't really surround Geno with the best of talent. So, I mean, you can blame it on a ton of things. I mean, this is a team sport. But, yeah. But now going in to this year, he is reunited with his old team. The team that took a chance on him in the second round. And not too recently, head coach Aaron Glenn sort of put one of the more crazier statements out by saying Geno Smith is going to lead us to the promised land. Now, everyone's going to be making their jokes of like, oh, the promised land is the number 1 overall pick. Well, I mean, you can make the case, okay, that's the floor. The floor is the first overall pick, but what is the ceiling for Geno Smith? We've seen the floor last year, but the ceiling for Geno Smith is what he was in Seattle. And Geno Smith in Seattle was no scrub. Let's be honest here. Geno Smith can ball. Let's put, if you just forget about last year and how bad Geno Smith played, Geno Smith, people respected him. Like when the Raiders made that trade to go get Geno Smith, people thought that was a very good move. There were some people that thought like, here's a good veteran quarterback. You bring in Pete Carroll, you bring in a quarterback that knows Pete Carroll's system. The Raiders are going to be a decent team. And that's what some people thought. And it was a mess. It was a complete mess. So, look, I know people are doubting Geno. I know everyone is saying this guy's a bum. We're probably going to get the number 1 overall pick next year. All I'm going to say is this. I am personally not doubting Geno. Personally, I think he is going to do decently. I think he's going to be somewhere in the middle for the Jets, where he's going to play some games where he looks like crap, and you're thinking like, oh my God, can we bench this guy? Can we just get to next year already? And there's going to be some other games where he's like, wow, he's getting Garrett Wilson the ball. Wow, he actually looks like a productive quarterback for once. There's going to be some games like that. And, if I'm going to compare this year to any other Jets year, that'd be 2017. For those people who do not remember, the expectations in 2017 were low, like really low. Like everyone thought that team was going to be one of the worst teams ever. And Josh McCown was the quarterback, and everyone expectations was so low on that guy, and he ended up having a productive season. Was he great? No. But was he productive? Very productive. I mean, he was able to get Robbie Anderson the ball. I mean, there were certainly some entertaining games that season people don't remember, but 2017 Jets, they hung around. And I think this year's Jets team is going to be very similar to that 2017 Jets team, where everyone's going to be very low on this team. But for some odd reason, they're going to put up some decent performances against good teams. And everyone's going to be like, whoa, the Jets, like, look at that. Like, they actually look decent. But are they going to be a decent team? No, I still think that they're at best 6-win team, maybe 7-win team. At very best, if I'm being very kind. But I think at worst, they're a 4-win team. I think they're slightly better than last year, slightly, but not 100% better. Again, it all depends on what this draft can bring, and if they get legitimate good players, and if they want to make some noise this year, these players that they draft have to be superstars, especially in the first round. Like I said, like I said a couple days ago, they got to get superstars in the first round. They cannot mess around and miss on a few first round picks. You can't afford that. Obviously, you can't. But it in my personal opinion, I do think Geno could be. It is a lot better than throwing in a Justin Fields from last year. I know Justin Fields had the potential to being a quarterback and to being a good quarterback. That's what people were saying last year. Oh, he has potential to be a great passer, to be a good quarterback. He has the running ability, but he's not a good passer. But he has the potential of being a good quarterback, which I did not see. I remember last year when we signed Geno Smith, or not Geno Smith, when we signed Justin Fields, I was very, I was very just underwhelmed by that signing. Everyone was psyched. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, we got Justin Fields! Like, we have a potential guy here. We have a potential, steal. This could be our version of Sam. This could be our version of a quarterback resurgence, like Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold." And then it wasn't. And then, like before the season, I was like, guys, like, he's not good. He didn't show any signs to being a good passer in Chicago. And the bigger warning sign is that Mike Tomlin, who people were saying like, "Oh, Mike Tomlin, he did, he signed an old Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't know what he's doing." There were legitimately people saying that before the season started last year. They were like, "Oh, what is he doing signing an old Aaron Rodgers? What is Mike Tomlin doing benching Justin Fields for Russell Wilson? It makes no sense." And I thought to myself, guys, we have no room to speak on a coach like that, a coach with that stature. He won a Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs multiple times. He's seen what it takes to win and what players it takes to get to the promised land. He's seen it. And he knows. He knew when Justin Fields was a Steeler and he started those 5 games and they had a decent record. I think they were like 4-2. He knew that Justin Fields was not the guy. He knew. And if that guy knew, we should have known. But we didn't. And here we are. We put all of our eggs, in the Justin Fields basket, and it blew up in our face. That's what happened last year. That's why we went 0-7 last year. Because we put all of our eggs in that basket and put him in a scheme that didn't fit his skill set. That's another thing people don't talk about. how bad last year was. We put him in a scheme that didn't fit his skill set. We thought Justin Fields was Jared Goff. Aaron Glenn tried to make Justin Fields Jared Goff or Dak Prescott, a pocket passer. That is not what he was. I don't think he'll ever be that. I don't think he'll ever be that. Even if he has a somewhat of a resurgence in Kansas City, what they're going to do with Justin Fields in Kansas City is that they're going to move him around. They're not going to let him sit in the pocket if he ever gets a chance to start, first off. But if he does get a chance to start, they are not, and I repeat to you, they are not going to keep him in the pocket the same way the Jets did last year. That was complete malpractice from the Jets coaching staff last year. And that's why most of them got fired. That's why most of that coaching staff got fired, because they completely misjudged the players that they had. Completely misjudged them. They didn't know. They had no clue. They had no clue. And it was a mess. Complete mess. Now, there's hope this year that, you get a veteran offensive coordinator that knows what he's doing, that knows what he wants in a specific quarterback. For example, Frank Reich, he wants pocket passers. You're going to get a pocket passer. Geno Smith is a pocket passer. So, yeah. I mean, Geno's not going to kill anybody with his speed. The guy is known to stay in the pocket, deliver, and, deliver these frozen ropes. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And if we would have gotten, let's just say a Malik Willis, it wouldn't have fit. It would not have fit. It doesn't make sense. It wouldn't have made sense. And I know there was a lot of people talking back then, like, oh, we should get Malik Willis. I was like, please don't. Please, you would repeat the same mistake that you did last year by getting a guy that had a handful of games with this amount of success in those said games. Don't get me wrong, Malik Willis looked fantastic those few games. That's the thing. It was a few games. It was like 4 games. Was it half a season? Was it half of a season of production that we saw? From Malik Willis? No. It was like 4 games. I'm not signing a guy to a multi-year deal for that. I'm sorry. I would never do that. And you know what the sad thing is? The Jets did do that last year with Justin Fields. He had a couple of good games, and the Jets signed him after he got benched for Russell Wilson. Old Russell Wilson, might I add. So the Jets would have repeated a mistake by signing Malik Willis. So thank God they didn't do that. Thank God. Now, Malik Willis can go out and be the franchise quarterback for the Dolphins, and I can get egg on my face. But I highly doubt that, because if you look at the Dolphins roster, it is eerily similar to what the Jets were last year. I mean, eerily similar. If anything, I think the Dolphins are last year's Jets, honestly. They're taking a gamble on a guy that was a failed quarterback prospect that had 4 games of success. They're giving him a boatload of money, and it's going to blow up in their face. That's how I see it. Now you get a veteran in the building. Yes, Geno is not the answer, but he's certainly better than Justin Fields. Is that saying much? No. That's not really saying much. I mean, I can arguably say, that on the Jets, Zach Wilson was better. Arguably. And that's really bad. I think Justin Fields was, in Jets standards, Justin Fields was a worse quarterback than Zach Wilson. Looking at it. And Zach Wilson was bad. He was terrible. But I think Geno can be respectable. I think he'll be among the likes of Josh McCown from 2017. Be decent enough. Not, quoting that guy from Chernobyl. Not great, not terrible. Just okay. Not horrible enough to make you puke, but not great enough to get you completely overhyped over about your expectations. So, I mean, that's kind of what my expectation is for Geno. And that's what I think is going to happen, honestly. I know a lot of people are down on the guy. Um, he had a terrible year last year. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I can see him being productive. More productive than Justin Fields. Which is not saying much, but still. Production at this point, as a Jets fan, you just gotta ask, like we just want the bare minimum at this point. Like that is what we're rooting for, the bare minimum. And I think Geno Smith can give you the bare minimum, honestly. So, um, if you disagree, agree, please comment, give your opinion. If you think Geno Smith is going to be completely terrible to the point that we get the first overall pick, tell me off. If you think Geno is going to surprise a lot of people, which I doubt there's not a lot of people that really think that, leave a comment there about that. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, ring the bell. That would be very, 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 very kind of you for y'all to do that. And I wish y'all happy draft eve, happy NFL draft eve, and be psyched for tomorrow. Big day tomorrow. So yeah, I'll film my reactions of the first round picks tomorrow, and yeah, see ya. Go Jets.